Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 7, Mockingbird. And this was another fantastic episode. You know, this is Game of Thrones. They really can do no wrong, and, you know, the only bad thing they've done is that, you know, Breaker Chains was an okay episode, but this episode was amazing. Probably the best episode of the season, because there was a lot going on in this episode, a lot of, like, plotting against people. And I'm really looking forward to the next episode because I really enjoyed this episode. Unfortunately, the next episode's not for 2 weeks. However, this was a good episode to leave us off on. So, let's just get to it. So, right away, you know, we were all trying to figure out what was happening with Tyrion and this trial. That's how the episode starts off. We see Jaime and Tyrion, and they're arguing about Tyrion's recent decision to have a trial by combat. Jaime does not think it's the best idea because he says that he couldn't stand to watch Shaw. Basically, Jaime doesn't think it's a good idea. Tyrion's telling him, this is what I want to do. And Tyrion says that he couldn't stand to watch Shaw spew her lies, so he had to put a stop to it. He couldn't watch Shay spew her lies, so he had to put a stop to it. And that's the only way he knew how. So basically, that's the only way he knew how, and so I'm wondering if, you know, you can kind of see that Tyrion does kind of regret his decision, but at the same time, he had to put a stop to it, you know, he had to put a stop to Shay's lies somehow, so I guess that was the only way. Bronn will be Tyrion's champion in the duel, and he's wanting to know who he wants to know who Cersei has chosen for her champion. So then we learn that Cersei's champion will be Ser Gregor. He's this really big dude, and he has a really big sword. So he is going to be the one to be in the duel with Tyrion. You know, he's going to be the one to fight. Fight Bronn, so, you know, it could be really bad for Tyrion, because, you know, this stuff, they're just fighting, basically, so if, say, Bronn dies, it could be really bad for Tyrion, so they're, you know, they're setting it up where it could end up being really bad for him. So, yeah. Then we see Arya and the Hound. They are continuing their journey. They come across a village that's been destroyed and meets a fallen man. He's mortally wounded, and this was just huge because, I mean, wow, this scene was just very surprising. He's mortally wounded, and Arya asks him why he doesn't just end his life and go on. Nothing could be worse than this, she says. He responds, maybe nothing is worse than this. Arya responds, nothing isn't better or worse than anything. Nothing's just nothing. The Hound then runs a sword through him, and runs him through with his sword, and next we see a bounty hunter come and attack the Hound, informing him that he's been a bounty placed on his head. He also tells him that the king has been murdered. Arya realizes that this hunter was one of her captors, so she kills him with a needle. So, that was a pretty big thing, and I wasn't expecting that to happen, but I definitely thought that was a really big scene, because a lot of really big shit happened in that scene. I mean, that was really intense. Just right away, we're getting some really intense shit going down, and I thought that was really good, actually. I really enjoyed that. Basically, then what happens is the Night Watch has a meeting, and they discuss how they're going to protect the wall. By the way, in this scene, we saw, this is kind of funny in my opinion. We saw Jon Snow. He literally had snow on him. I just thought that was kind of funny. But basically, the Night Watch is having a meeting. They're discussing how they're going to protect the wall, because, you know, the pivotal 9th episode this year is called the Watchers of the Wall. So, you know, I think that's definitely going to be a big thing, and they're just basically trying to figure out how to protect this wall, because, as we know, Ygritte and a bunch of the other people want to attack the wall. We have not seen Ygritte since Breaker of Chains. That's when we last saw Ygritte. So because of that, not seeing Ygritte since Breaker of Chains, you know, because of that happening, I think that it's definitely going to be really interesting. I think that, you know, it's definitely going to be really interesting to see what happens there, so I'm definitely looking forward to that whole thing. That's definitely going to be really interesting. Bronn then comes to visit Tyrion, and basically, you know, he's there. Tyrion doesn't really know how he's going to respond to this, to everything, and he basically, because, you know, Bronn is the guy that's going to fight, Bronn's the guy that's gonna fight Ser Gregor. So Tyrion, you know, he's talking to him, and basically, you know, he's talking to him, and basically what he does is, as he's talking to him, he basically rejects Tyrion's proposal. He doesn't want to risk his life defending Tyrion's life. He doesn't want to fight this guy, and, you know, he's basically like, no, I'm not going to fight this guy. I'm not going through with this. I can't do it. Basically, he's a coward. That's what we find out. Bronn is a coward, and it's just like, fuck you, Bronn, because Tyrion, really, there's nothing you can do. This was Tyrion's idea. This is what Tyrion wanted. There's nothing you can do to stop it. There really isn't. So, as much as you want to stop it, there's no way to stop it, because this is something that, as I said, Tyrion wanted this. You can't stop him, so, I mean, seriously, it's just like, you can't stop him. I definitely thought that was a really big thing, though, and that was definitely very important. Then we see, Dario brings flowers to Daenerys, and I was kind of disappointed by this scene. My only complaint is, basically, this season we have not seen any nudity from Daenerys, and I know that's really creepy and everything, and probably really creepy that I'm saying this, but I think Emilia Clarke's extremely hot, and we haven't seen any nudity from her, and that was kind of a minor issue with me, just because we saw nudity from the guy, but not from her, and we saw nudity from her in all 3 seasons, and we haven't seen any this year, so that was my only complaint with that. But, I mean, it's Daenerys, I like her character, so I guess that's fine. Then we see Melisandre. She's in a bath, she's taking a bath and everything, and she talks with Stannis' wife. And she says that, you know, Stannis is the one who wants to be, have that crown and everything. Stannis wants to be we did not see Stannis and Davos in this episode, but Stannis basically, you know, he wants that crown. He wants to be on that Iron Throne. So Melisandre's talking to Stannis, talking with Stannis' wife about it. She says that when they all set sail, her daughter must be with them as the Lord of the Light needs her in the future. So I thought that was definitely a really big thing, and definitely really, really important, and I just thought that was a really big scene, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that whole thing goes, because I thought that was really big, actually. I really thought that was a huge scene. So then Daenerys continues her quest to free the slaves. She tells Jorah that she's ordered these second sons to kill the masters in Yunkai, and Jorah is strongly opposed to this, and he sort of fills Daenerys with a change of heart. You know, he kind of agrees with her, and basically, he says, alright, you know, whatever you want, I will help you with, and I thought that was definitely an interesting scene there. That was definitely a really big thing, and I definitely thought that was a really interesting scene. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that whole scene. Then we see Brienne and Pod. Now, if you guys remember, the last time we saw Brienne and Pod, I thought it was hysterical, because, you know, Pod had no idea what he was doing, and I thought that whole thing was really funny. However, now we're seeing that, now, Brienne is realizing that she can, in fact, trust Pod. You know, the last episode was, can I trust Pod? She wasn't sure if she could, if he'd be the best guy to help her with this, you know. But basically, what we're seeing is that, now that she knows she can trust Pod, it's still very, very interesting, because basically, they continue their journey as well. They stop to eat at a tavern, and they run into Arya's friend, the one that she saved. And he tells Brienne what happened to Arya, and that she's probably still alive. So that is a pretty big thing, because if you know, you remember who Brienne is friends with. Jaime. Where is Jaime? At King's Landing. So, Jaime's at King's Landing. Who else used to be at King's Landing? Sansa used to be at King's Landing. So, again, this is definitely setting up that Stark's reunion. We're getting really close to that. I think that's going to be the finale. The finale is called The Children, so I'm thinking that's going to be the big finale, and that's definitely going to be a really big thing. So, I think it's definitely a really big thing that happened. I mean, that was the only scene we saw of Brienne and Pod, but it was definitely a very important scene, because we got to see, basically, that, we got to see that, basically, we got to see that, oh my god, what was I gonna say? we got to see that we're definitely setting up that Starks reunion, which I think is going to be probably the happiest thing in Game of Thrones history, because, you know, the Starks have been separated from each other all season, so if they find out all of them are alive, it's going to be great, and I can't wait for that reveal, because I love the Starks forever. Then what happens is we see Prince Oberon comes to visit Tyrion, probably the second biggest scene of the episode. He goes to visit Tyrion, and he tells him about the chat he had with Cersei. And he eventually says that he came to King's Landing for justice. And if you remember that chat he had with Cersei, he had that chat with Cersei a couple episodes ago about her daughter. You know, about her daughter, to keep her daughter safe, and he talks to him about it. He eventually says that he came to King's Landing for justice. You know, we now know why he is there, because if you remember, the whole reason that that prince is there is because the other prince did not show up, and this prince is there. So he's there for justice, to avenge his sister's brutal murder done by the hands of the Lannisters, and Tyrion says that he's come to the wrong place for justice. But Oberon says he's come to the perfect place. He says that he won't stop until all those attached to his sister murder have been killed, starting with Ser Gregor, the man Tyrion set to fight. So, Oberon is going to help Tyrion. I think that's great. Oberon basically says, you know, he says that he will be Tyrion's champion, and Tyrion's joy is noticeable. I mean, that is great, because he is going to help Tyrion. It looked like nobody was going to help Tyrion this episode. Nobody liked Tyrion's idea. Jaime was against it, which I was very surprised about. I mean, Jaime just, it seems like he was all for Tyrion, helping Tyrion, but again, I think it's all about keeping, you know, Tyrion's safety. I think that's what it's about, but Tyrion was against it. Who else was it? Bronn was against it. But Oberon is going to help him, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if they're going to be successful. I really hope they are. And then we get the biggest scene in the episode, which I just thought was huge. Basically, we see Sansa, this kid, like, build a snowman. Remember that one kid that we saw that was, like, a brat? He built this snowman and everything. Sansa then accidentally knocks it over. He gets all mad at her. He starts, like, kicking the snow and everything. And basically, she slaps this kid. This kid looks like he could be the next Joffrey. He really does. He is that annoying, and I think he's going to end up being the next Joffrey, just because he's that annoying. They have to replace Joffrey somehow, so there you go. Then we see Baelish, who basically, he talks to Sansa. Sansa says, I'm sorry, I hit him, and he says it's okay. He then kisses Sansa, and I'm just like, oh, he kissed Sansa. I was so surprised. And guess who sees it? Lysa sees it. She then thinks Sansa kissed Baelish. She doesn't think Baelish kissed Sansa. She threatens Sansa by holding her head over the moon door. I thought that she was going to kill Sansa right there. Basically, she's crazy. We already knew she was crazy, but she's just crazy. She's insane. Baelish then comes in to stop Lysa. He goes close to Lysa, and it looks like he's going to, like, you know, take Lysa's side on this, because he says, I think I have only loved one woman my entire life. And she thinks he's going to say her, but he says, your sister. And then he pushes Lysa through the moon door, and she's dead. So, Lysa's dead, and now I'm thinking he's going to pursue Sansa, and that's not going to be good in the end. Because, one, if that happens, if, say, he wants to sleep with Sansa, and she goes through with it, Sansa will cheat on Tyrion, which is not going to be good in her part, because Tyrion really wants to be a good husband to Sansa. If he finds out that she went behind his back, I don't think they'd introduce cheating on this show, but I really don't know what's going to happen there. We'll have to see. Also, really looking for, I mean, as I said, no Game of Thrones for 2 weeks. Was this a good episode to leave us on? Fuck yes. Hell yes. I mean, seriously. Great, great episode. By far the best episode of the season. By far. There is so much tension heating up in this show. So much that I'm looking forward to now. Tyrion's trial. I mean, Tyrion's trial by combat. I cannot wait for that. I literally can't wait, because I'm looking forward to seeing how this is all going to work. You know, Oberon is going to help Tyrion. Oberon's going to fight this guy now. It's going to be awesome to see. And Oberon's going to have Tyrion's back on this. So that's going to be awesome. Everyone's against Cersei at this point. Everybody wants Cersei dead. People are talking about killing Cersei, and they want her dead. Really looking forward to the Starks reunion, which I definitely think is coming. I definitely think that's coming up. Also, Sansa and Baelish. What do you think is going to happen there? I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. I guess we'll just have to see. But I definitely am looking forward to that reunion. As I said, I do think we are going to get a Starks reunion from that. I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I want to say is what is going to happen with Stannis and the Iron Throne. We know that he wants the Iron Throne. We know that's what, he wants. So, is him and Sansa's wife going to go to the Iron Throne? You will have to see what happens there. Definitely it's going to be a really big thing. Who's going to win in the fight? Ser Gregor or Oberon? We'll have to see. Oberon wants to kill Ser Gregor, so I think he will. Because we're getting down to that pivotal 9th episode, which there's only the 8th episode and then the 9th episode, which I'm going to miss. I'm not going to watch it live because the Tony Awards are on that night. So whoever decided to do that, fuck you, because it was a terrible idea. Also, Daenerys. I don't know what's going to happen there. We'll have to see. She wants to kill the Masters in Yunkai, so we'll have to see what happens there. If, Jorah seems like he's on board with it, so we'll have to see what happens there. Not too much with Daenerys in this episode, which I guess was okay. I didn't have too much of a problem with that. Basically, and also, what else do I... Oh, also, the Night's Watch. Are they going to be able to protect the wall? As I said, the 9th episode, which is definitely the most important episode of the season. The 9th episode is the one where all the shit goes down, because last year we had the Rains of Castamere, which I'm still recovering from. I'm not gonna say I haven't recovered from it. I don't think I'll ever be able to recover from the Red Wedding. But the 9th episode is called The Watchers on the Wall, so we'll have to see what happens there with that. And then I think here's what's gonna happen. Episode 9, there's gonna be like a huge attack between Ygritte and the people who are guarding the wall. And then episode 10, Stark's reunion. That's what it's going to be for the rest of the season. And if that's what the season is building up to, I think it's going to be great. Also, I think episode 9 is definitely going to be Tyrion's trial by combat, because those are two huge things that we need to see, and I think that's going to happen. So yeah, loving Game of Thrones, loving the tension that's building up, loving everything that's happening in this episode. Let me know what you guys saw of this episode. Overall, I thought it was another really fantastic episode. I really did enjoy it. That's been my review. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Penny Dreadful. So see you then. Bye.